Have you ever had to deal with a friend or family member taking their own life? One of my good buddies that I was deployed with, Dustin, actually ended up committing suicide about a year after we had been home from Iraq. I remember it like it was yesterday. His wife Amanda gave me a call asking if I had seen him around because she hadn't seen him in over 24 hours. I immediately called some of my buddies and rallied the troops to try and find him. I mean, we weren't having too much luck, and she kind of had a good idea of what was going on. She knew that he was having some problems with his mental health. He had been trying to go to the VA for PTSD. They weren't helping him out too much. She even had a pretty good idea of where we'd end up finding him. And when we did, he had shot himself in his head and left her a note apologizing for everything. You know, for service members, suicide is just a fact of life anymore. These wars since 9/11 have not only left physical wounds, but deep cutting mental wounds. We receive annual training on suicide prevention and have tons of resources available while we are serving to help out with mental health. But once you get out, whether it's you retired or you just got home from a deployment, there's not that much there for you unless you go out and seek it. In 2010, there were 22 veteran suicides a day. If that trend continues, which it most likely has, I mean, veterans only make up 7% of the population in America. So that number is astronomical. Fortunately, there are a handful of organizations out there trying to lower this number to 0 a day. But one organization is doing a better job than others. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Wounded Warrior Project. I hope Dustin's suicide has caught your attention because the Wounded Warrior Project does great things for veterans. My goal is to give you a brief history of the Wounded Warrior Project, show you how they help veterans and their mental health, and how you can get involved. So let me begin by telling you a little bit about the Wounded Warrior Project. Their mission is to honor and empower wounded warriors. They're an organization that serves veterans and service members that have incurred physical or mental injuries as a result of military service since 9/11. They actually came into existence in 2003 as a direct response to the events on 9/11. This is because the founder, John Millea, was an injured vet from the first Gulf War, and his experience in military medical facilities wasn't a very positive one. And he felt that organizations currently operating in support of veterans were not prepared to deal with some of the unique needs and issues that the newest generation of veterans would face. He knew that new vets were going to be dealing with He knew what they were going to be dealing with when they were injured in combat. Namely, that often service members newly arrived at military hospitals had little or no personal possessions, comfort items, or even clothes. So Millea, along with a couple friends, raised $5,000 and set out to make new vets' hospital experiences much more comfortable. They did this by sending book bags full of things like toiletries, clothing, deodorant, stuff that you really just think would be a given to different veterans that were hospitalized. Since 2003, they've actually grown and done so much more for veterans. According to their website, as of August 1st, 2013, the Wounded Warrior Project serves over 35,000 registered alumni and over 4,000 registered family members of those veterans. In 2012, the Wounded Warrior Project spent over $114 million on programs in support of Wounded Warrior veterans and their families. The original $5,000 worth of backpacks and supplies has grown to almost 17,000 backpacks by now. They have expanded from just the original backpack program to 19 different programs that assists with everything from mental health to physical health, all the way to financial health. So I've told you a little bit about the Wounded Warrior Project. Now let me get into how they actually go about helping to lower that veteran suicide rate. So it's important to note that the strongest risk factor for suicide is depression. According to the Veteran Health Administration, 80% of veterans that seek treatment for depression are actually treated. Depression is one of the more prominent symptoms associated with PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, and combat stress. The project has 3 programs that are dedicated to mental health of veterans. The Combat Stress Recovery Program, CSRP, addresses the mental health and cognitive needs as the veterans are returning from war. So the way this program works is essentially they find soldiers that just came home from Iraq or Afghanistan, and they try to catch them in the reintegration process, and they kind of give them guidance through it and offer them support, whether it be, just coaching, all the way to sitting down with the psychiatrist and helping out with their mental health. When we demob, we are put through dry classes about reintegration, don't beat your wife. They seem really pointless when you haven't seen your family in a year and you know they're in the other room waiting on you. So after demob, we're pretty much left to our own devices and must cope with combat stress on our own, unless we, like I said, go out and seek help. That's why the CSRP is very beneficial to veterans. Next up is Project Odyssey, which is one of my favorite programs that the Wounded Warrior Project has to offer. It's a program designed exclusively for combat veterans that uses outdoor retreats to encourage veterans to nurture connection with nature and their fellow combat veterans. So essentially what they do is they use physical activities and team building exercises to show veterans that they're not alone. I mean, it's a military-wide epidemic, whether it's combat stress or PTSD or just depression, anxiety. I mean, we're all dealing with it in some way, shape, or form. So this program takes a whole bunch of veterans together and shows them that, through working together and kind of commiserating, they're not alone and that they can overcome those problems. The activities include horseback riding, canoeing, whitewater rafting, kayaking, rock climbing, a high ropes course, fishing, skeet shooting, sled hockey, and skiing at retreats held in various locations across the country. Not only does it help vets, but it's a lot of fun. So the last program that deals with mental health is Restore Warriors. This is basically a website with resources and self-help strategies for warriors living with their mental health issues, such as PTSD, combat stress, depression. This may seem kind of like a passive and not very effective tool, but consider the fact that there is still a pretty big stigma associated with seeking help in the military. I could talk your ear off, but this video that I found actually on Restore Warriors kind of sums it up, why it exists. So give me 1 sec.
I'm not sure who I am now. The emotions, the anger, the nightmares, the dreams. Who are you now?
and they can bring me back to that moment whenever I saw the aftermaths of what happens in a combat zone.
I've literally got to step away from the situation.
It affects my family. It affects my coworkers.
There is no stigma. This is a reality.
It's not wrong to admit you have problems.
Seek help. Don't wait until you're in a situation where there's no turning back.
So, I mean, that's pretty powerful stuff. You know, the hardest part about getting help for veterans is the fact that they're afraid to do it, or they don't know how to do it. So that's why it's nice having a static resource like Restore Warriors, where they can just go and get help. So I've shown you how the Wounded Warrior Project helps veterans with their mental health issues. So now let's talk about how you can get involved. There are several ways that you can get involved with the Wounded Warrior Project. The first way is, and the least time-consuming way, is to simply buy products with the Wounded Warrior Project logo on them. The Wounded Warrior Project has great corporate sponsors like Under Armour, Heinz, Brawny. There's even credit cards with the Wounded Warrior Project logo on there. All these sponsors somehow make contributions to the Wounded Warrior Project whenever you buy their products with the logos on it. Under Armour has pledged to donate over $1 million to the project once a certain number of the products have been sold. On top of that, they also provide all the clothing and gear for all the different programs that the Wounded Warrior Project has. So if I were to go to an event for Project Odyssey, my shirt, my shorts, my shoes, all that would be actually provided by Under Armour. Heinz is a pretty neat program that they are doing to help the project as well. I'm sure that if you've gone to Eden Park within the last 5 years, or pretty much any restaurant that has Heinz ketchup, a lot of times you'll see that they have the Wounded Warrior Project logos on them. For every one of those bottles that a restaurant or you actually go out and buy at a grocery store, Heinz will donate $1.57 to the Wounded Warrior Project. That doesn't seem like a very large number, but when you consider how popular Heinz ketchup is and how nationally recognized it is, that's a lot of money. So the next way that you can get involved is to actually make a personal donation on the Wounded Warrior Project website. It's a relatively easy process, but let me show you anyways, because there's a lot of different things that are visible on the website that might throw you off. So first you want to go to the Wounded Warrior Project website. It's woundedwarriorproject.org, and this is what you'll see what you get here. You want to go to this link on the right side in blue here that says Donate Now. So once it loads, you'll see Donate Now. It gives you a little bit of a backstory about how your contribution will actually help, and it reminds you that your donation will be tax deductible. The layout's nice and easy. It asks you for how much you want to donate. You simply click the amount you want to donate. You enter your donor information, your payment information, and your billing information, hit submit, and you're done. That easy. You just saved a veteran's life. The next way that you can actually get involved, and this is going to involve the website as well, is you can volunteer for different events that they're going to be doing, or you can actually participate in those events. So to volunteer, you're going to start at the same point that you started at for donating. But instead of clicking donate now, you're going to go to this link that says give back. It's in the top right hand corner, and it's in the black links over here. So you click give back, and it gives you all these different options. You can be a supporter, whether you're a liaison at your school or whatever. For different events though, you're gonna see where it says Wounded Warrior Project volunteer information, and here they'll actually have all their different volunteer opportunities listed. Right now, with the winter we've had, they haven't had a lot of outdoor events, but one that I know is coming to the area relatively soon is the Tough Mudder. The Tough Mudder is actually a 10 to 12 mile obstacle course challenge that supports the Wounded Warrior Project. Normally you get together a team and go with your friends. The cost to participate ranges. It all depends on when you actually sign up for it. I think that I've signed up for it at $50 before, but the closer it is to the event, the more expensive it gets. What's great about the Tough Mudder is that they've already donated over $6 million to the Wounded Warrior Project since it started going on. So now that I've talked to you about how you can get involved, let's just summarize everything that I've already talked about. Today I shared with you how suicide has had an effect on my life and how it's having a toll on the veterans population in America. I've told you a little bit about where the Wounded Warrior Project came from and where it's going. I also discussed how they are helping with the mental health problems of veterans in America. You should have a good idea of how you can get involved, so the next logical step is to go and do it. I've seen firsthand what untreated mental health issues can turn into. The effect that suicide has on families is awful. Together, we can lower that 22 suicides a day to 0. Veterans voluntarily put everything on the line at one point for you. Now it's your turn to return the favor. Thank you.